is investing itself, from both of your opinions, is it really a difficult approach, or is it like a set and forget thing, as far as you see it, like invest in ETF or something like that and just pump money into that? But are there really, good general habits to go about it in a way that makes sense for just anyone to do, basically?
Yeah, definitely. Most of us learn how to drive a car and get our license. And honestly, having to pass your driver's test is a lot more harder than just learning how to invest. And if you're just going to invest in some easy, well-diversified ways like low-cost index funds, exchange-traded funds, it really is not quite as complicated as you think it is when you first start out. And a lot of us aren't familiar with any sort of investing knowledge. It probably hasn't been passed down. Our parents probably didn't invest. It certainly was the case for us. And so you have no familiarity with it whatsoever. So you're starting out and it's kind of like you're trying to learn a foreign language. You don't know how in depth you need to go. You don't know you start reading all these new terms and you're just like
bamboozled with all that
too much. I just don't know what's going on. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be like that.
And I think in our parents' generation there was a real barrier to entering into investments because you needed upfront thousands of dollars to invest. But these
and you needed
days,
a broker,
and you needed someone to and so it's just so accessible now, and that's something that right now is really unique. And there's so many entry points, whereas there weren't. And so there was no way that my parents could pass that information and knowledge on. They thought they were doing incredibly well because they were good at saving. And that was their way to financial security. But yeah, so it's been like learning how doing something like $5 a week, investing $5 a week or $10 a week or even haphazardly $5 can make such a difference in the long run for ourselves and for our kids if we start now, because they've got time on their side. They've got many years ahead of them where they can feel the beauty effects of compound interest. And I think there's one of the things that happened for me was what shifted from focusing on cutting expenses, really living on a constrained budget. We weren't high in cash flow, still have to be very, watchful of what we do and how we spend our money. But there was a shift from focusing on that to thinking, actually, I can think about also growing my wealth. And that did so much for my mindset around money and how I talk about money now to my kids. And that's something, we don't have financial education as part of our school curriculum. So it's literally what we learn in our home life. And just to make it more of a conversation and accessible. And some people are going to read books, but some people aren't. Like, it's not their cup of tea. And
I think the hardest part when you're trying to look at sort of just trying to get your whole personal finance, and you're on your own little journey to try and improve your whole situation. The hardest part initially is if you're just living payday to payday, it's going to be really difficult to even find $5 sometimes to start investing. But we speak about investing because if you're only just trying to save beyond, say, an emergency savings account, that savings is just going to lose its value over time because of what inflation is always there year upon year. Particularly at the moment for many families out there, we're getting hit very hard every time we go to buy some groceries or we go and fill up with some gas. It's a little bit painful. And you can really beat inflation by investing for the long term. So it is hard, and it's one of the things that we cover starting from scratch. How are you going to just find a little bit more cash flow in your current budget and then moving all the way along to actually taking those first steps to start investing, because the first steps of getting started are usually the hardest.